This is the Brachypelma emilia, or the Mexican red-legged tarantula as it is commonly known. This tarantula is found along the Pacific Coast region of Mexico in the scrubland areas. The Brachypelma emilia is known as a fairly docile, slow-growing species, which makes it a great tarantula for beginners. Males can grow just over 4 inches in leg span, while females can reach nearly 6 inches, with most of them having about a 5.5-inch leg span. They have very mild venom that is not medically significant to humans, but they do possess urticating hairs, which can be very irritating if they get on your skin. Their black abdomen, red legs, and reddish-brown carapace with a distinctive black triangle make them a very unique-looking tarantula. Many chilicotl or Brachypelma species sometimes have a faint triangle on their carapace as a spiderling, and even sometimes as juveniles, but the B. emilia is the only species that keeps this triangle as an adult. It even gets darker and more pronounced as they grow larger, where the triangle will fade away with age on all other species. The care for the Mexican red-legged tarantula is very simple, which is another reason it is such a popular species with beginners and more seasoned keepers alike. They do very well at room temperature, so they need no special lighting or heating elements. They thrive on a drier substrate as long as you provide them with a small water dish full of fresh water. They are a hardy species and very forgiving of beginner mistakes, but there are a few husbandry details you will want to take into consideration. For one, this tarantula likes to burrow more than most Brachypelma species, so you want to make sure to provide an ample depth of substrate. They are also known for climbing the walls of their enclosure, especially the first month or so after being rehoused. So be sure the substrate is high enough that they won't hurt themselves if they were to fall from the top. It is also a good idea to avoid using decorations that are sharp or heavy, as they could be harmed if they were to fall on a sharp point or the decor was to fall on them if they burrow underneath it. Spiderlings can be fed flightless fruit flies or pinhead crickets, as well as pre-killed nymph roaches or pre-killed small crickets. Avoid feeding them any prey larger than 2/3 the size of the tarantula. Make sure to remove any uneaten prey 24 hours later and never leave uneaten pieces of prey in the enclosure. This will help prevent mold and mite infestations. Juveniles can be fed 3 or 4 small or medium crickets once every week or two, depending on the size of their abdomen. Do not use any prey larger than 2/3 the size of the tarantula, and if you have to feed something larger, smash the prey's head before dropping it into the enclosure. This species can go weeks without eating, so check up on them 24 hours after feeding and remove any prey they did not eat and try again in a week or two. Wait 5 to 7 days after a molt before feeding a juvenile again. Adults will eat about 5 large crickets or 1 or 2 large dubia roaches every 3 to 4 weeks. But they should be fed based upon their abdomen size. If the abdomen is wider than the carapace, they are well fed and you can skip feeding them until their abdomen is the same size or smaller than their carapace. Always remove any uneaten prey and boluses within 24 hours and wait 10 to 14 days after a molt before attempting to feed again. This tarantula will eat crickets, mealworms, and feeder roaches. The amount you feed them will be dependent on the size of the prey. Now let's talk about their enclosures. The smallest spiderlings can be kept in the sling crib until they reach about 3/4 of an inch in size. The cuboid mini, slider crib mini, and 3-inch cube enclosures are also great fits for this species. Fill their enclosure up a little over halfway with substrate. Provide a small water dish or drip water on one corner of the substrate and the side of the enclosure every few days so they can drink if needed. Some good enclosure options for juvenile red-legged tarantulas are the 6-inch cube, small cuboid, and small slider cribs. Again, fill the enclosure up a little over halfway with substrate, and provide a hide and a water dish no wider than the tarantula's leg span. For adults, you want to use an enclosure no smaller than 3 times the leg span of the tarantula. So the large slider crib, 12-inch cube, large cuboid, and terrestrial XL cribs are great options for adults. While the 8-inch cube, medium slider, and medium cuboid will work well for subadults. You set these enclosures up the same way as the smaller ones. Fill the enclosure up just a little more than halfway with substrate. Provide a hide and water dish and any decorations as long as they are not too sharp or heavy. Of all the red Brachypelma species from Mexico, this is one of the most gorgeous, even though they may not be the most popular. Their bright red colors, deep blacks, and unique black triangle on the carapace makes this a mesmerizing species. They can be a little skittish when startled, but as they grow older, they tend to spend most of their time out in the open. So they are a great display tarantula and will quickly become a jewel species in your collection. The Mexican red-legged tarantula is an ideal beginner species, but it is also a tarantula any level of keeper would be lucky to care for. If you're finding this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your red-legged tarantula deserves the best, so check out the full line of high-end acrylic enclosures for tarantulas, invertebrates, and reptiles at tarantulacribs.com.